guys.
Hey folks, I'm Tina Hui, and we're here with Rosa Shores. Rosa, please tell me all about Blockspaces and what is going on and what's your involvement, and tell us all about it. It sounds so exciting.
Yeah, so we started in 2013 holding meetups locally in the Tampa Bay area. And this has just sort of grown out of necessity into this big co-work community and education center for blockchain. It's really kind of an evolution where our meetups just grew exponentially, just like Bitcoin has grown, with more and more people becoming involved. And then just being in the space since 2013, having some of the connections in the community that we had, it just seemed to be like a natural fit. This space became available and it really met our needs. And we opened it originally just sort of to have our meetups there, but it's grown so much that we're going to be full time after January. So I'm really excited.
What is
It's a co-work space and sort of a community education center. So we'll have co-work desks there. We're actually half sold out and we're not even open yet, with startup projects based around blockchain or people that just want to be in that space. We'll have hot desks as well. Bring people in for conferences, seminars, education classes. There's a Bitcoin mining operation adjacent to the building, so we'll be able to expose whatever your interest is. We'll be able to expose you to it. It sort of also grew out of I'm in another project called Clearvoter, that's a civic tech project that has 4 co-founders that are blockchain enthusiasts, and we always thought that we would be a good sort of front end deployment for blockchain-based voting, if that, as that technology develops. Obviously, we're not quite there yet, but that we also had been really looking for developers, and developers are so hard to find. So having a co-work space that might be able to get our local colleges and universities interested in participating in curriculum there too as well. So it's exciting.
if any developers are watching this, hopefully they will reach out to you as well.
Definitely, and we would love to partner with any developers that are interested in perhaps crafting curriculum too as well, or anybody that wants to teach online. We could host workshops there around their curriculum too.
That's amazing. So I mean, how did it all begin? Like you said 2013, how did you get into Bitcoin, and like what was the adventure? What's the scene like?
Yeah, so I was just exposed to Bitcoin in 2013. I thought it was sort of a novel idea. I mean, like everybody at first, I was sort of skeptical. I'm in the e-commerce division at HSN. So having an easy way for payment processing, any sort of new payment processing application, just was interesting to me. Also thought that there was some interesting things that we could do with token controlled access, like in our arcade. So my initial interest in Bitcoin and blockchain was purely around my e-commerce background. That sort of developed into thinking of all the different kinds of applications on blockchain. Obviously, as you know, there's some in this space that don't or think a little bit more critically around blockchain applications that aren't cryptocurrency based. But I think they have some very interesting use cases. Supply chain management was also sort of an interest in mine, just because of e-commerce and my retail background. So we started holding these meetups. We got connected with BitPay because of course we're here in St. Petersburg, so that's where the Bitcoin Bowl was. So we were connected with BitPay, and we started. Back then, of course, I know you remember, it was all about trying to get merchant adoption. That was like the big thing. If we could just all get merchants signed up to accept Bitcoin, then that was going to be the end all be all. So we literally walked the streets of downtown St. Petersburg trying to sign up merchants to accept Bitcoin back at that time around the Bitcoin Bowl. And we did. There was about 120 merchants we signed up. And in also that time, we started doing our meetups, which we've had every other week since 2013. So
Bitcoin Bowl, right?
Yep, the Bitcoin Bowl in St. Pete, which was interesting and fun.
I find it really fascinating that Bitcoin doesn't really, the focus on payment processing isn't really that wide for point of sale systems anymore. And that's a really interesting evolution in space, right?
Isn't it? It's so interesting to me. And, people come in now, everybody is so, of course, it's so interesting talking to people who have only been in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin for the last, 6 months to a year. And they're so excited about the price. And, they've never, ever really even experienced a price drop, which, of course, everybody else in the space has. And so it's fun to see that much enthusiasm, and of course we're all happy about the price, but those of us that have been here for a while definitely weren't here for the price for a long time. So it has been interesting to see the evolution and how we've gone from sort of payment processing to, oh, it's blockchain but not Bitcoin, and now we're really back to how the importance of the actual token of Bitcoin. So yeah, it has been interesting.
I'm excited. I'm so glad that you touched upon all of these things because it is pretty funny.
Yeah.
You think about, well, the SEC is filing papers and notes again, which
Yep.
did happen back in like 2015, right? And
Yep.
towards the latter half. And you're
Yeah.
like going, okay, the correction's gonna come. And then I wonder,
Yeah.
half of me wonders, I mean, how excited are they gonna be when that happens?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I mean, of course, that's all of these people that are in it now, they may stay, they may not when there's a price drop, as there inevitably will be. But I do think that I think 2018 is going to be a really interesting year. And I do think there's going to be a tremendous amount of development. I have a sense that the price will stabilize somewhat. I think that with all of the institutional money that's coming into Bitcoin, without doubt, I think that we're going to see sort of a weeding out of some of these less vetted projects, maybe. And I think that we'll see the ones. That was my PC way of saying.
Get rich.
So I think that the more legitimate projects will rise to the top, and I think with this influx of institutional money, some price stabilization, and some real thoughtful innovation going on in the space, I think it's going to be a really great year. So I know it's going to be a great year, for our area. We have so many colleges and universities. Someone told me the other day that a student at University of Florida, that Blockspaces showed up on their internal chat group at University of Florida, which we haven't even advertised. So, it is, I think people are looking for a place that they can go where there's so many, scams, there's so much misinformation, there's so much to learn, that I think people are really wanting a place where they can go, that they can feel like they're going to get some sort of trustworthy information from people that aren't necessarily trying to sell them anything.
It's interesting, even in Silicon Valley, right? It's everybody needs to be around each other so you could at least ping an idea off somebody and say, hey, what do you think? Or you're kind of getting input and insight, and it's going to be a really good thing that you guys are doing this. I mean, is the Bitcoin market huge in Miami?
Well, we're about 4 hours from Miami. So the Bitcoin market, I mean, there's a big developer group down there. And, I think Florida in general, there's a really good meetup in Jacksonville. There's I think Florida is a really interesting place. It does seem to, maybe it's because the Bitcoin bull was here, and so we sort of still have some of the leftovers from that. Not all of those merchants are still accepting Bitcoin, except now they are starting to come back online. We just did a live stream for one of our local stations here just this afternoon. They are doing a local news story on Blockspaces and on our sort of evolution. So I think there is a lot of attention, coming, and more and more people are getting involved. So
there's actually something somewhat similar here called the NASDAQ and Entrepreneurial Center.
Uh-huh.
I'm really excited to see what you guys end up doing in Florida. I didn't realize you're in San Francisco, because you and I keep talking about the Miami Bitcoin conference that's going to be.
Yeah. Are you going?
Yeah, I'll come. Just
yay!
Hang out with you.
Oh, yay!
Yay! I'm gonna have a tour. Let's do a tour of Blockspaces when I'm there, and we'll walk.
Okay.
watching through the space, and then maybe we could even host an event, like a, you know, we'll do a mingling event.
Definitely. Well, our grand opening is January 13th. So if you can make it back on January 13th, or I mean, that's like a week before it's like the week before, it's like the Saturday before the Miami conference. So if you can come down a few days early and, you know, come to St. Pete, then you can be at our grand opening. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll see if I can. Actually, what is so bad about being in Miami? It's freezing here in San Francisco. So.
Is it really? Ugh.
I mean, it's not, we shouldn't complain. It's not snowing, but
Yeah.
it is like a nice, I think it's a high of 60 something. And what's your weather right now?
Oh yeah, it's like upper 70s. Yeah, it got down into like the 50s this over the weekend, and everybody was like it looked like they were in, you know, Antarctica or something. We're just not used to that at all.
You got like a down jacket. You're like,
yeah.
oh, it's not that cold. but I think it's fascinating that you guys kept the torch running from St. Petersburg. I didn't realize that, because that was such a big deal, right? Like
it was a big deal.
We're gonna have to. I'm definitely gonna try to get someone from BitPay on and talk about, hey, like, where's that big push? I know Snapcard also used to be really big on point of sale, and then they're not either.
Yeah.
Just a questioning of whether or not there wasn't enough market interest or an adoption, or if it was more about, like, I think you guys care a lot about the blockchain technology, right? And like applications built.
Yes.
So do I, and I think anybody who is in Bitcoin for the long haul tends to not necessarily care so much about the price and like how many Bitcoin you have, but more about what can this technology do, right? Like, why are we having all this compute power? What's the purpose?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the revolutionary
yeah.
thing. I think a lot of really great.
Well, and I think so. Not only just caring about the technology, but just understanding, you know, you hate to say that there's like an ideology or a philosophy behind, you know, a technology, but just, you know, the promise of, you know, of a decentralized distributed, you know, currency that doesn't have any sort of trusted third party. You know, if you've been in this space for a long time, that almost sounds like a cliche. You've said it so many times, and I just don't think newcomers are like, I think they're coming for the price, and I hope they come for the price, and, you know, they stay for everything else. And I feel like people that have been in this space a long time, I feel like it's almost an obligation to rope them into everything else that blockchain is and what Bitcoin symbolizes. So some people don't necessarily think that. Some people think, you know, I mean, you know, when we all first got into Bitcoin, you couldn't, if you Googled Bitcoin, the only thing that came up was, you know, Silk Road. Now there's so many resources. There's so many resources now, and there's, you know, there's podcasts and you know, really positive information out there. And we've got, you know, 9 years almost of history and articles and, you know, education classes. And so there's so many more resources now that people can research. You know, we all kind of like had to take 6 months to figure out what was even going on. And you know, so I do feel though that I think that the people that have been in this space for a long time can really come together to help, you know, promote good education, and especially help people be able to ascertain the difference between, you know, something that's legitimate, something that's a scam, obviously how to secure their crypto, which of course we're all sort of learning. You know, there's so many people that don't even understand, you know, what's the difference between a private key and you know, these people that are buying now, they don't even understand when you say, you know, Coinbase holds your private keys or whatever. What does that even mean? They don't even understand it. So we, at least in this area, feel that we do have sort of an obligation to share our knowledge and to help people come on board in a safe way that, you know, protects themselves from losses as much as possible, certainly from hacking and things like that. So.
Oh, it's kind of a big deal at the moment, right? And then it's a very big question, like, how do we? Well, that's a question I want to ask, is not just about hacking, but I mean, you know, Follow the Coin, that's where we first started our show. Now it's evolving into BNN, and we're going to see if it's going to become a really good news network, and we'll see how that goes. However,
oh, that's great.
what's really fun about Bitcoin is everybody's always sitting here innovating, right? Like it's like a crazy Wild West
Yeah.
industry to just sort of be an entrepreneur. Like go, you have an idea, do it. Maybe there's a space for it. Maybe someone's already doing it, but you can do it better, or like have a different iteration. Well, either way, we can't wait to stay tuned and like close with you guys and make sure people do get the education
Yes.
because you know what you're talking about, and that's important. And it's really good to actually connect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on. And we definitely, any inquiries about the space, we would love to, partner or sponsor or have, sponsorships. We have lots of availability for, advertising within the space. We have several really amazing artists that are creating custom crypto art that we're going to be able to sell. I mean, it will be on our walls, but it'll also be available for sale, and they're all going to be custom pieces, and they're really beautiful and amazing. We do have a podcast studio going in. We have like a little retail area that's going to have, some Bitcoin related merchandise and hardware wallets and things like that. So it's going to be like a really fun, but, exciting and energizing space. So we're really looking forward to getting it open.
Also, subject, I guess you guys also structured your ICO in a very interesting manner, right? Like accredited investors, and you want to speak to that a little bit?
Well, we don't have an ICO.
Oh,
yeah. No, we don't have an ICO with Blockspaces.
Yeah, someone actually wrote about it somewhere, and they were like, it was in my Facebook feed, and they were like, oh, they structured it so that they had accredited investors, and then like other people can now like pitch in. So that's false.
No. No, we don't have an ICO.
Find that for you, Sue.
No ICO.
Okay, let's hear it from you. How how did this all come to be?
We're self-funded. We're self-funded. So, I mean, this is our, we are literally self-funded, and this is just, a labor of love. We have some community involvement, some people from our community, chipping in for things that we're buying here and there. But this is, straight up, business plan, storefront. We will have opportunity for, we already have several projects that are being incubated out of Blockspaces. So they will have ICOs, and they, there's a couple of different ones that are going on right now. That one just got funded, that he's actually needing bigger space than we're even going to be able to provide. So there will be opportunity for investors in the area or, in the world, to, if they're interested in maybe investing in a startup project, that we would have projects that would be coming out of our space. But Blockspaces itself, the storefront, has no ICO.
Well, I'm glad we get to hear that one.
Yeah.
I don't know who said that, but it was on my feed, and I was like, oh, interesting. I didn't know if that was accurate.
No ICO.
But definitely, I mean, I think it's interesting. There are more and more businesses actually that are not ICOing. They're just, traditional. I think it's important. I just reminded somebody recently, even I was like, listen, an ICO essentially is the same thing as a crowdfund, and you are actually held to the same regard with like a Kickstarter campaign. And tell you what, like if you don't fulfill your promise on a Kickstarter, they take you to court. You go.
Yeah. It's not. No. And with there's so much legislation. I think we're going to see legislation this year too, more so than we already have. So, I mean, we have the attention of legislators. We have the attention of, the SEC. We definitely have the attention of, the IRS. So, I mean, I do think that, regulation is coming, and, especially anybody that's launching an ICO in the United States, definitely needs to have their ducks in a row. We definitely don't want anybody getting in trouble. So,
yeah, we don't.
Or any more people. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the thing that I've been honing in on, and I'm gonna make T-shirts and sell it to you guys. Could like sell them at Blockspaces, but
yeah.
The thing is, people keep forgetting. I mean, I know the libertarians and anarchists are like, stop trying to centralize, and you're like, listen. At this point, Bitcoin, unfortunately, is already centralized. We have conglomerates. You don't know it, but we know it. You and I know it, and old school knows it. And you could see them forming. And don't believe a thing that's too good to be true. And if you're going to be in business and you want to run an organization or anything, it's always good to just have best business practices, right? Like, just be a good businessman. why
Yeah.
that should be important to you regardless of if you're an anarchist or libertarian or hate
Yeah, that's one thing on Facebook that I like. I love. I think you and I are like the only people in like the entire Bitcoin space that's sort of lean left. Jeremy Gardner, maybe a little bit. But other than that, I think like we're it. Everybody, I mean, I'm definitely not an anarchist. I'm not. And I would call myself like a left leaning libertarian, right? Like way left leaning. So I mean, I don't even know if that's possible, but that, I mean, I do see value in some of those philosophies, but I'm, you know, you and I are on the same page. That's like, that's why we like each other. That's why we like each other's posts all the time.
I agree. I think it's because we're trying to be like, wait. Hysteria is great. Enthusiasm is awesome. But let's also be a little realistic, right? We're like, I think we're just realistic liberals, maybe.
Yeah. There you go.
It's just about being grounded in reality, which is that it is a fintech or tech company that you're working on, and it is, and it is important that, you know, even seasteading, this is a new thing, right? Like seasteaders want to be somewhere in the middle of the ocean and like away from like regulatory preview. And we're like, it's not like the oceans they're not a freezing. There's no
right.
I'm sorry, the whole globe is controlled by someone, right? And yeah, it's a utopian thought that we could have an international currency. But if we're gonna have nice things, this is why we can't have nice things. Is if
Right.
like butcher it to hell and like do illegal things all the time. You can't have nice
well things. and I you know, I think I do think that there's a point to reasonable regulation. I mean, things are definitely overregulated, and you know, the bit license is out of control. So I mean, I do feel like there's a place for reasonable regulation, though. And if you don't stay involved and you don't stay on top of, you know, some of this legislation that's passing, like some of these bills that they're proposing. I mean, you can avoid politics, right? But it will not avoid you. And so if you check out, if you're checking out, then you're just saying that you don't care about this thing, and it is going to affect you. Legislation doesn't go away just because you say, well, I'm an anarchist, I don't care about that. Well, if you want to do business in the United States, you should probably at least know what the regulation is.
I mean, even if you're in Switzerland, where, you know, regulation is somewhat more of a white zone, gray zone. Oops, just dropped my phone. But even if you're, you know, in Switzerland, you still have to kind of take care of regulations in the local arena, and I think it's important that people should think globally instead of thinking and like separately, right? Like you can't divide. It doesn't make sense to divide and conquer. It's more about how do you find ways to sort of make things better, right? Like, yes, the political systems are broken. Yes, all the systems are broken right now. Frankly, I just did an Instagram post about it. And it's all about, I mean, let's look at the politics, right? Politics is broken, everything is broken. But instead of trying to say, hey, we don't need that, that's just not going to happen. But how do we find solutions, right?
Yeah. So, and that's our civic tech project. So our civic tech project, which is not a blockchain project yet, is a civic engagement platform that puts users into their voting districts around issues instead of political parties. And so there's no political parties on the platform referenced anywhere. And so it helps people align around issues that actually affect their communities.
Oh,
so you start thinking about your community and you know, individual issues, and how you can align with your neighbors and your community, you know, in your voting districts where it matters, instead of, you know, caring about these big, you know, political parties, and because that divides us. So issues can bring us together, and political parties divide us. And so that is the whole value proposition of Clearvoter. We just always felt that because of the way we would have people grouped already, that it would be a really great front end if the technology of blockchain-based voting ever develops, that it would be easy to deploy that just in the way that we have our users grouped. So that's a really exciting project too, and we've been working on that for, you know, 3 years. So
sounds
There's
amazing.
there's like 4 of us, and we're all involved in politics, and we're all blockchain enthusiasts. So yeah, it's really good.
Let's definitely have all 4 of you, or I guess we could have you back on the show and talk about that in
Oh
specific.
yeah, Clear Voter, and yeah, and that would be a great show too, because that's Michelle Ray. She's a political commentarist, and she's very involved in blockchain as well. So she's one of the other co-founders of Clear Voter.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm so glad that we connected and had this fun show, and
Yes.
it was nice to talk to you
Yes.
guys.
Yes. And I'll see you in Miami.
Oh yeah, you'll see me in Miami. I'll probably come to
Okay.
hang out with you guys and nerd out.
Oh
Thanks.
yay! Yes, that would be awesome.
Bye guys.
Bye guys.